Welcome from the ends of the internet, my friends. It's me, your buddy Kev. This is a tour of what I'm calling the new zone, and hopefully it'll be somewhat interesting. As you can see, I've cleared a good amount of area so I can start my new base. And here it is in the middle. I got some copper going on. I got some oil, just enough to provide sulfuric acid really. I've got a little bit of cracking going on. I'm making lubricant, cracking some heavy, excess heavy, and cracking the light into petroleum gas. It's really all I need. I don't need that much. I have my original copper deposit, a new copper drop-off point that takes the copper from the copper outpost. There's the copper outpost. It'll handle 2 trains. One will wait while the other one goes, and the other one leaves. The other one goes in to get some. They drop off here at the copper drop. So far it's sufficient for my needs. I don't have a iron set up yet, but so I built my factory from the right to the left, just things that I needed at the time, what I thought was most important, and being out here in biter territory, ammo was one of the things that was super important to me. And pipes. I use pipes a lot as barriers to at least give me warning when the biters are coming. So I've set up this sulfuric acid train, and when the uranium mine runs out of sulfuric acid, this train will depart, go fill it up. Here's my original iron that's local to where I'm set up. It is sufficient to my needs for now. This is a little market I've set up. It works off of logic that I got off a guy named Gepwin. He does a lot of Factorio combinator stuff. But this adds and subtracts from a number so that you know how many ish you have in the system. My combinators, one will count when the inserter adds, takes from the belt, it adds 1 to the value of each. And I got it set to always work, so it just always outputs the value of each thing. So you can see I got all the belts and hoods and splitters, some inserters going, and they're all at minus 10ish because that's the value I use to indicate you should start putting more stuff on. The other combinator is hooked up to the supply end, and it subtracts when they put stuff on the belt, subtracts from the number. So since they're hooked up to actually both, it adds 1 and subtracts 2, so that's why this has to be minus 2. Anyway, it works out. When the supply puts 1 on, it subtracts from the number, and when you take it off the belt, it adds to the number. And it works pretty well. The thing is, it needs to have a few queued up so that when you take stuff out of the box, the arm immediately starts taking and adding to the number. If If it's empty, it's not going to do anything. You'll take stuff out of the box and it won't trigger anything. So you have to have some queued up waiting for it to count as it takes it off the belt and sticks it in the box. It's kind of weird, but it works for me. So I got some set up. It's incomplete. I'm going to add some more stuff to it. But I got the belts, the splitters, and some hoods, and some inserters there. So I'll be adding pipes and power poles and whatnot later on. And that only fills up half my thing. And I realize you could do it better with bots probably, but I'm trying to do it hard. I want to make it challenging. So here's my atypical non-standard bus. The only things on it are plates, copper plates, iron plates, and down below we have the fluids, and there's some stone, I think, and some coal. Here's where I make the sulfuric acid. The acid is rigged when the uranium mine runs out of acid. The train will go and fill up the miners. So of course, here's how we're making ammo. It's just straight up iron plates, makes the pipes and the underground pipes. Next column over, we've got the transport belt underground things, underneath these. And you need a lot of gears. So I got 4 things, all making gears, passing them down to the transport belts, transport hoods, which I peel off. The excess send down to make the express ones. Need the lube that's down there. Next column over is the transport belts themselves. And the next one we've got electric mining drills and also the inserters, long arm inserters. I'm getting ahead of myself here. And over to the splitters. I've got electric furnaces there too, back there. Some rail stuff I needed. Started doing rails to get out to the edge of my territory. Got the power poles. This one is assembly machines, all the way up to level 3. My beloved rocket ammo. And the last 3 are not necessarily for base building, but I needed to do something, so I'm building the modules. Speed modules, productivity modules, efficiency modules. So far I mostly use speed modules. I use efficiency modules in the nuclear fuel cell maker, but that's about it. Okay, where am I running to now? Running up to the original copper. So I needed some copper when I started out. I just threw this up. Same thing with the iron down below. I threw that up. That got me started. Here's my copper unloading. It's obviously 2 trains. Unloads the copper from this base over here. and it can handle the 2 trains. So there you go. My setup there, I like the dual long-armed inserters for that. Pretty cool. So let's go on the train. Going somewhere. We'll tour the outer reaches or so. Probably go down to the nuke site first, though. There's my original hydro. Steam power. Okay, here we are at the nuke site. It is expandable up to 4 in this configuration. It actually needs a slight gap between the reactors and the heat exchangers, but when you add more, the 3rd and 4th reactors, you can add, there's space already in this build to add the new heat exchangers and the new steam turbines. And the tanks on the end are for the steam bank, which I use to detect, and when it gets down below a certain amount of steam, it puts in the next fuel cell. The empties come out and are converted. They go in this box here. Those have priority for use, and it works pretty well. Here you have the ore coming in. The regular ore goes one way, the bright green ore goes the other way, and depending, if you run out of the lime green, it will automatically start up the Corvex and do some enrichment, but I haven't needed it yet. I got a fully loaded Corvex box though. It's got like 82 to 85 bright greens in there, but I haven't needed them. I think with this setup, with the efficiency modules, it's like 11 to 1, so it's not 19 to 1 like a lot of people think. Anyway, in this setup, the raw ore is processed and all the bright greens are offered to the Corvex process first, and if it doesn't need them, they go on out over to the processing, fuel cell processing. I'm sorry, fuel cell creation. And there's a bit of metal here. It comes from nearby the uranium mine. I got one space in the car set aside for iron plates, and it picks them up when it picks up the uranium ore, and it works out quite nice, actually. So let's go over to the uranium mine. If I could learn how to drive. Off we go then. Okay, so if a train is here picking up ore and it runs out of acid, the train will immediately leave and go drop off what it has, leaving the stop open for the sulfuric acid train to come and fill it up. It's really a clever setup. And all it does is this combinator just sends a 1 sulfuric acid if the tanks are low or empty, and then you use that signal to control the trains. So we got coal coming over to keep the acid train and the uranium ore trains fueled with coal, and a little bit of metal comes over. You don't need much for the fuel cell creation. Okay, so let's go check out the rest of the base. We'll head to this spot right up here that I used to as a base of operations to clear the area in the northeast. Oop, there we are. So originally I had a wall of pipes right there with the one gun station. That held off the biters until I could clear them from that area. Let's go check out the next area. And this I used in the east. As a stopgap, I started at the narrow point between the lakes, and I cleared them all out so I could go to the wide point between the lakes. Keep the bugs out of there. And off we go. Up to the corner. Out to the frontier. So this is pretty typical of my gun stations now. Off we go to the next stop. So I can use this rail line along the border to get to any hot spots that the bugs might cross over. It works pretty well. So I don't have stations in the west or the south yet, but eventually I will. Thank you for joining me on this tour of the new zone, and I'll see you next time.